Hello, and welcome to It Came from the Unknowns, a weekly sci-fi, horror, short story podcast featuring new, upcoming, or unheard of authors, hosted and narrated by yours truly, Ryan Barella. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the unknown. Welcome to episode 3. Well, things are starting to pick up around here. I'm getting a lot more story submissions, and I'm really loving a lot of the stories that I'm seeing. So keep those submissions coming. Let's get your story out there. We're also getting some subscribers on Patreon, as well as all the different platforms. Big thank you to all of you. We can't do this without you. We're going to start offering monthly sponsorship spots. So for $15 a month, you can get your name, your business, whatever it is you're trying to promote, mentioned here on our podcast for the entire month that you sign up for. Now on to the good stuff. Today's story is called The Watcher by Vincent Kocznur, narrated by yours truly, Ryan Barella. Vincent Kocznur is the award-winning writer of the science fiction audio series The Lakes of the Moon, Volume 1, Red Odyssey, Impala Films. His short story, Where Lazarus Sleeps, won first prize in the 2019 Hamilton Mountain Writers Guild contest. The Watcher is forthcoming from Phylum Press, and Delta 4 was shortlisted for Grit Lit's 2022 short story contest. He is currently in the Quarry Trenches, pitching his surrealist urban fantasy novel, Steeltown Dreaming, to literary agents. You can find more of his work at vincentkocznur.com. If you do like what you hear and you'd like to support us, feel free to check out our Patreon over at patreon.com/itcamefromtheunknowns. If you'd like to submit a story, please email me your story in PDF form or link, along with your name and brief bio to itcamefromtheunknowns@gmail.com. For now, get cozy, turn down your lights where applicable, and let's prepare to take a journey into the unknowns. The Watcher by Vincent Kocznur. It was my turn to change Gregory's coat. We traipsed through the sea of winter wheat, and it was a bright, clear day, hot and muggy, like a bowl of tomato soup. Carrying Gregory's new coat made it all the hotter for me, but I was used to it. It took Mom and Nana all of last week to put it together, get all the feathers just right. Black within black, with some shades of blue. Was brand spanking new, and I thought it looked real good on Gregory. Better than the last one, certainly. We heard crows cawing overhead, and one of them actually had a gardener snake in its talons. We thought that was funny. "You gonna ask Gregory?" Hannah said. "I suppose I should," I said. Up ahead, standing 7 feet high, was Gregory, the family scarecrow. Our great-great-grandfather planted him here when he first bought the farm with our great-great-grandmother. They named him Gregory, and he had been good to the Warrens ever since. Every harvest we changed Gregory's coat made of feathers because it brought us good luck. Great-great-grandfather found that out the year an awful blight hit Romulus's crops. He had just changed Gregory's coat, an old farmer's tweed jacket, because it had become destroyed in the elements. Every wheat and cornfield in Romulus fell foul and was no better than rat poison, except for the Warren crops. Our great-great-grandparents kept everything. Ever since then, the Warren children have taken turns each harvest in changing Gregory's coat. "Okay," Caleb said. "This is it." He and Hannah stood on either side of Gregory. His old coat was beat up and chewed up and didn't look right on him at all. Caleb and Hannah carefully removed the coat from the crossbar and folded it together very somberly. They set it aside, then looked at me. It was my turn. My throat was parched and my head throbbed. Knowing this would be the last time I'd change him made me feel all sorts of ways. He was completely naked, except for that wide-brimmed leather hat which hung by the top of the stake. I had never liked seeing Gregory unclothed. It was unnatural and unbecoming of a guardian who had faithfully stood watch over the work of my father's hands, that same work which I had also toiled. My heart's persistent tugging turned my face away from the farm and wheat fields and towards those wondrous new world I had read about in so many books and magazines. I had wanted the university. I had wanted to see the city, smell that city air, and breathe in that city nightlife I had seen so often on television. Go on, Hannah said. Dress 'em. I looked at her and smiled. I held Gregory's coat in my hands as if it were the golden garments of kings. Carefully, so very carefully, I wrapped it about the crossbar so that it was nice and even. Then I made sure the hem dropped all the way down to the stake and tied it off. I straightened Gregory's hat so that it rested more naturally on the stake. Nothing was under that hat, and I had always imagined a weather face with weary eyes and a long gray beard given his age. Aren't you going to ask him? Hannah said. I took my hat off and looked up at Gregory, whose new coat flapped in the warm summer breeze. Gregory, I said, shy as if I were a child addressing my father when I had done something wrong. If it's all right with you, I'd like to go on to the university, become a writer. I'd like to be published. Would that be all right with you? His wide-brimmed hat appeared to us to dip downward, as if he had nodded. Caleb and Hannah whooped and hollered and pat me on the back, and I stood there silent and happy. I was overcome with emotion at Gregory allowing me to live out my dream. I nodded back, put my hat on, and told him thank you. You going to write about the farm? Hannah said. Hope to, I said. After I graduate, I'll go to New York, find an agent, and publish my stories in the New Yorker. Think they'll print stories about our farm? They might, I said. And if they don't, there are plenty other literary magazines that will. I'll get my start in Steeltown, print some stories in the university paper, and maybe send a short novel to a publisher. Show them that I can really do it. Then I'll take all my stories to New York. Yes, sir, I'll take them to New York and walk in the footsteps of giants who have gone on before me. I'll plant my feet in New York sidewalks like our family planted theirs in this soil. In the city, they have apartments bigger than barns, richer than Solomon. It's a wonderful thing to be read and to be loved. There was a long silence before Caleb said, You won't forget about us, will you? I smiled and put my arm around him. Never. Why, you two would have to come visit any time you'd like. Mom and Dad, too. Now, don't you both cry. I'll be back to visit over Christmases and Easters. Things may be changing, but this won't be the last you'll see of me. We talked well into the afternoon and walked through the winter wheat back to the barn. The sky had gotten shadowed blue with some gray, and the crows multiplied over our heads. You two go on to the house. I'll close up the barn. Leave the camera. Off they went, and there I was standing all alone in the middle of that great barn, where over many summer I'd fed the mules before storing our wheat in the big silo, which as a boy I imagined was a rocket ship or a watchtower, where I'd look out for imaginary invading Martian hordes. I could smell Mom's cooking come off the stove, and almost taste that cool glass of strawberry lemonade that would assuredly be set at the table. As is tradition in the Warren home, Hannah played her violin and Caleb sat at the piano. That evening they played the Doxology, which of course was my favorite hymn. I thought it tremendously sweet of them to consider me on this my last week before university. A week of last suppers. I went over to the fleece blanket that covered up the chicken coop, which was old and rusted. As I pulled down the blanket, I saw immediately the misshapen form of our elder brother, Eric. His crow's beak was fractured in 3 places and caked in his own blood, and the entirety of his body was covered with sores, most of which had become infected. His featherless arms were crow, and much of his face and neck were crow. His torso and legs were human. He looked at me with his very human eyes, and I cried. I cried until my cheeks were so wet you could wash clothes on them. I thought back to the happier days when Eric used to carry me on his shoulder or teach me to fish by the river. Eric, I leaned against the cage and said, I'm going away to university very soon. I'm going to do what you always wanted to do, and I hope I make you proud. It's not fair that this had to happen to you. It's not fair what Mom and Dad did to you. It's just not. I can't tell you how many times I've cried in my room hearing Dad pull out your feathers for Gregory's coat, and you cawing and screaming like that. I certainly won't miss pulling them, and I'm awfully sorry I hurt you. I can't imagine your pain, Eric. It's such a strange magic our great-great-grandfather came across, and it's a strange thing he found in Gregory, who watches over our wheat fields when all other wheat fails. But Eric, I'm going to do you proud. I'm going to get published and make money, and I'm going to remember you for how you once were. Like us. For as long as there will be firstborn Warrens crossed with crows for Gregory's coat, I'll remember them all, and I'll immortalize them in poems and novels. People will read about them 100 years after we're all gone, when a new set of warrens will drape new coats over Gregory's shoulders. My brother twitched and cawed and clapped his mutilated featherless wings together and squirmed around in that small cage as if worms had gotten underneath his skin and itched him. Never had I seen such sadness, such pain, as when I saw Eric. I snapped a photo of my brother as he crouched there and looked at me, his dark blue eyes like spears through my heart, yet it was his pierced side from which the water flowed. I told him I'd always be grateful. Well, I've said about as much as I can say. Goodbye, Eric. I'll miss you. That evening I had said goodnight to Mom and Dad and Hannah and Caleb. I stayed up in my room, writing on my grandmother's typewriter, the one she used to type a letter to my grandfather congratulating him for the privilege of marrying her. The sun had nearly set, and I still could see an unusually large murder of crows hovering over Gregory. Their harvest was very near, and it seemed bittersweet to me that this was my last time watching them gather. Gregory sent out his legions of crows to the surrounding farms to subjugate their fields, devour their wheat, bring back eyeballs and kidneys, tongues and livers, lips, teeth, shin bones, and shards of skull from farmers who have yet to learn the plain and simple fact that the Warrens grow the only wheat Romulus will ever need. I slept like a baby that night, and I dreamed of my bus ticket, and I dreamed of boarding the bus, and dreams of stories on my grandmother's typewriter, fields of stories, like winter wheat. The end. Welcome back. You are just listening to The Watcher by Vincent Kocznur, narrated by yours truly, Ryan Barella. What a delightfully dreadful tale. Maybe not for all the Warren children, but certainly the eldest. That was a particularly good kind of creepy that I quite liked. Starts off innocent enough and then really reels you in with the evil underside to everything that's going on. Quite a good story. I'm very happy with that one. Thank you to Vincent Kocznur for his submission this week. Keep getting those stories submitted. I'm loving everything that's coming in so far. I'm really looking forward to reading more and bringing more new stories and new authors to everyone out there listening. Again, if you enjoyed this and want to help support, you can check us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/itcamefromtheunknowns. We have a digital subscription where you can also get an ebook of the stories for each month, as well as a t-shirt subscription which will feature each month's cover. It's a great way to look fashionable and support upcoming authors. Got a sci-fi or horror short story you want to hear narrated out for the whole world? Email me your story in PDF form or link, along with your name and brief bio to itcamefromtheunknowns@gmail.com. Thank you again for taking the time to check out It Came From The Unknowns, a weekly sci-fi horror short story podcast featuring new, upcoming, or unheard of authors, hosted and narrated by yours truly, Ryan Barella. I'll leave you now with one of my favorite lines. It goes, "Let us say then that my listeners are an uncommon herd." Stay weird, everyone.